Moving on, next level, what are some things people get ridiculously passionate about? Like, can't shut them up.
I would say like Marvel movies, but I don't know if that's like the level you're looking for.
What?
Marvel movies?
Yes. Yes.
There are some people that can.
There's
No, my best friend back home.
Gang affiliation.
Okay. What else? What's something that people start talking about that you're like, okay, I can't get them to shut up now?
Politics.
Sports.
Politics? Okay.
Politics, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Everybody, shut up right now.
Sports.
Say it again.
Gang affiliations.
They like themselves.
Oh.
Ridiculous
I don't know about
things.
you.
I feel attacked.
How are we doing on, let's see, Chiefs and the Buccaneers? Am I right?
I don't know.
Ooh,
By the
okay.
Chiefs.
Tom Brady and the
Super Bowl is gonna be real fun. We're having a party, by the way, guys.
Go sports.
Yeah, I know. I told you sports.
How about people who are in like, selling makeup and
Oh my
sport
gosh.
books and
Girl Scout.
You mean pyramid schemes?
exactly.
Speaking of pyramid schemes.
Enough yourself, David. Yeah. So here's the deal. I think that we've experienced even tonight. We were talking quite a bit about Marvel and WandaVision, and everybody gets excited about their thoughts about that. I have been in a conversation about magic that lasted about an hour, and I was like, I don't understand how we're still talking about this, but I'm pretty sure that we could go on for about 8 more hours easily. Am I right? I'm right. So I think it's appropriate, as we are lovers of God, to take a little bit of time and talk about what we love about the Lord. So it's easy to get on a tangent with all of these different things, and there's some really amazing things that the Lord has done. And so I just wanted to hear from you guys for a minute. What are some things that you're like, man, when you think about the Lord, what he's done in your life, what he's done in the lives of people around you, what are some things that are just like, that pop to your mind that are like, I can't believe he did that. That was so cool. That was amazing. Yes.
I mess up all the time. And when other people mess up like towards me, then I kind of like hold it against them for a very long time. I can't let go of things. But then when it comes to like God, I think about how quickly he like drops like my sins and all my all my slip ups and stuff. Like I can't I don't know, I can't believe it. I just think it's super cool.
Okay, somebody else. Yes. What's something else? Tell me that. There was that one time that he.
Okay, so this week it was really cool in my Spanish class. We were like giving presentations about ourselves. Like we had to talk about like an object. So at the end of mine, I like had a picture of the cross and I like explained what Jesus like did for me or whatever. And there was 3 other people in that class who ended their presentation with the cross and like their faith. And so it was really cool. I just think it's cool how God like opens the door, like as we're willing to step out in faith and kind of thing.
I had an experience while other people are thinking. Keep thinking. A couple of years, a friend was going on a missions trip, and I was praying for her, and there was a group of us who weren't going on that mission trip, but our job was to pray for them the whole time that they were gone. And it was so cool because she gets these crazy migraines, like all the time. Ian knows Kellen. And really affected by the weather and different things. They were going to India, and so she was really concerned, like, it's gonna be hot there. I don't know how I'm gonna do with the weather. And so we prayed that the Lord would just keep those migraines from coming, and the entire trip, the entire time she was gone, she didn't have a single migraine. And I can't say that that could be anything else except for like the Lord doing that for her. So that was sweet.
Looks like I got something.
Yeah.
This past week, I had a friend, he like dropped out, he's not here anymore, but he was someone I was mentoring for a while, and he hit me up like yesterday or the day before and asked if he could just like stop by. We were talking for a while, and I got to share the gospel with him, and he's still searching, but but he's never heard, the truth of the gospel, to that extent. So that was just awesome how God opened doors for that. I didn't have to force it. I wasn't, and I didn't twist his arm to make him pray or anything, but I believe that there was seeds planted, so that was really cool.
Yes.
So my dad, okay, it seems like a personal thing. It's not, because I want to share the good news about it, but my dad has struggled with alcoholism for the past few years, and I really didn't realize the extent it was, to what extent it was. But recently, they kind of made a video to tell the church about what good God has done in that my parents' marriage are falling apart, I guess. And so one day it came to a point where it was just it was kind of to that point where it was either my mom or alcohol. And my dad went out with a friend one night and he came back and it was just his desire to drink has been completely gone ever since. And it was only by the grace of God. And I just think that's super cool how God can when we lean into him and trust in him with that stuff, he can really save things that are falling apart. So that's it.
Yeah. That's so cool. I feel like there's just so much more that we could say about the Lord, and we will pause for now. But when we think about the ways that we can get excited about things, when I think about the Lord and what he's done, that gets me excited. I start hearing things like this, and it just makes me think of all these other things that the Lord has done that I've heard about or that I've seen personally. And it's just something that can't be stopped. And I want to encourage us that that's not something that you have to conjure up or anything. That's something that the Lord wants to do in each one of our hearts, is to give us a passion that just bubbles out. I mean, we talked about pyramid scheme people, we talked about sports fanatics. There are coffee people who you say one thing about coffee and you're gonna hear all about all their preferences, and just somebody might love pour-overs, so you might know who in this room loves their pour-overs. The Lord wants to do such a radical thing in our lives that it just bubbles out, that people who know you know all about it. They know all about what he's done in your life. And so I want to encourage us just to lean into that. And tonight we're going to talk about personal devotion. We have 3 core values as we have thought about what discipleship looks like on a college campus and what it looks like specifically for us here at ESD. Last week we talked a bit about responsibility, and we're going to come back around to that. But there's this idea that what the Lord has done in you, he wants to do for the people around you. So we want to take responsibility for that. And then a second is brotherhood. The fact that we don't go through life alone. We need other people around us in order to encourage us and help us to go farther. And we're going to talk a lot about that next week. I'm really excited about it. But today we're going to talk about personal devotion. And this is the idea that the Lord has something to do in us that apart from that work, nothing else really matters. So we're going to jump into just talking about the impact of a love relationship. And that's really the difference between our relationship with the Lord and all these other things that we can get excited about. So I want to hear from you guys. If you're hanging out with someone, talking with them, and spending time with them, how do you know if that person is in love with somebody? Not with you necessarily, but say I'm hanging out with Ian or Hannah. That's a better illustration. I'm hanging out with Hannah, and I don't know Ian at all. How do I know that Hannah is in love with Ian?
They talk about each other.
Talk about him?
Go
What was
ahead.
that?
I'm her background photo of her phone.
Oh, who's that? Okay,
Yeah.
great, great.
Not only talking about them, but the way they talk about them.
No. I'm looking at her life and looking at how she lives her life. What are going to be some things that are particular to someone who's in love? Yes.
They kind of mirror what the person they love does.
Yes. You're right.
It's a
Can you
psychological
expand
thing.
on that a little bit?
Yeah, like when you like love someone and when you hang around with them a lot, you kind of like pick up their little quirks, like I don't know, little goofy things they might do with their hands or something. And like you're like, you didn't do that before. What's going on with you? You're like, well,
Yeah.
Your shoulder shimmy for a while.
A couple of months after Ian and Hannah moved here, I started realizing I was doing some things with my hands like Hannah did, and I was like, oh. I'm not in love with her, but I really love her.
Spend a lot of time
Anyway.
together.
Cool, that's great. What else?
They live together.
Oh, wow, okay.
Hey,
Yep.
the married.
You're married.
The married.
Going back to the, like, talking about them, it's, well, not one, how they talk about it, but it's also like how much they talk about the other person, versus like if it's too much, like sometimes it can always almost be like borderline obsession, versus if you talk too little, you're like, oh, you're just friends, but there's a fine line somewhere in the middle, that's not one or the other, but it's actually like love.
Like radiate with happiness. Like you can just tell when somebody's happy and when they're not happy.
Like an intangible thing, yeah.
Priorities are different.
Yeah.
I just think about like my brother just got married last year, and the way that his life has changed, the things he was interested in, even as much that he even talks to me. I haven't talked to him in a couple weeks at this point. We used to talk like all the
Oh,
time.
man.
You know? So, yeah, I mean that's just a dynamic of being in love. It's like a focus where certain things don't become as important as they were.
I think you like care about the details of the person you're in love with, and like you're constantly thinking of like what you can do for them, or kind of a thing.
These are fabulous. It's like you guys are all spot on. So
Kind of going off of what
Yeah.
she said, like putting them first before
Yeah.
yourself.
yeah, definitely.
You get rid of things that you think yours and the other wouldn't appreciate.
Yep. I know a lot more about hunting and cast iron and pour overs than I ever used to. I mean, I am slightly interested in them now. Yeah, there's so many tangible ways that you can tell that someone has kind of taken over someone's life almost. You know, like my life is changed because I'm in love. Ian's life is changed because he's in love with Hannah. You know, I don't know how many of you guys have been in love, but it's life changing when you're in love. Like you're not the same person because of that other person that is in your life. And it's true, like your values change. And this is one reason why we say that it's so important that you are pursuing someone who has similar to values to yours, because their values are always gonna become yours. And so if you want to be someone who's like gonna drive you closer to the Lord and really raise the spiritual temperature in your life, you have to find someone who's not gonna drag you down, but is actually gonna like pull you along with them. So your values change, your time changes, you know, like you actually are spending time with that person. And sometimes it looks more scheduled and sometimes it's more spontaneous depending on your like stage of life. But this is the person that I spend the most time with in my life is this person I love. The way we spend our money is different. Like Jake and I spend our money in a very different way than we would if we were single. Am I right, babe?
Yeah. That's a fact.
Oh, dear guy. I'm just gonna lean into this. Before we dated, Jake was like into professional archery, like competitive shooting and hunting, and would travel and was just gone all the time because he was traveling, hunting and shooting and doing all of these things.
And I had money.
And he had money. Exactly. Partly because the Lord called him to a different vocation. He doesn't have money now, but we have our need to that, you guys.
One up.
Don't worry.
Different types of.
So, I mean, you've got this different change in the way that you spend your money, the way that you spend or invest your time. All of your values are different because of the person that you're in love with. You sacrifice to see their good. Someone mentioned this. Like, I am willing, I know that this thing that I do, I know that this thing that I do bugs Jake, and so I'm working really hard to change it.
What is it?
I don't know, I can think of a
Oh.
few things, but I can't think of it off the top of my head, but, you know, there are those things. So there are things that you put off because of that person. There are things you'll sacrifice for because of that person, and you know that it's totally worthwhile. Have any of you guys made a sacrifice for someone that was like, maybe not worthwhile?
Yeah.
Yes.
For one person, one time maybe?
When you're in love, even if you're like questioning it, you know that in the end, because of the choice that I made to love that person, and because I know how valuable they are to me, you know that it's worthwhile. So I'm talking about a love relationship because I feel like sometimes if we've grown up in the church, and I think most everybody in the room has, but not everyone possibly, when you've grown up in the church, it's easy to get this like rules mindset. And you guys tell me if anybody recognizes this song. Read your Bible, pray every day, pray every day, pray every day. If you read your Bible, pray every day. Oh, sorry. I know, grow. I know, grow. This is a kid's song. I know, grow.
You didn't
And then
read
if
your
you
Bible
don't,
enough.
then shrink. So we know who in our relationship reads their Bible and prays every day a lot more than the other. Who actually knew that song? Okay, nice. Well, that is a song that we used to sing in kids' church, in our churches. There's this idea that in order to grow in our relationship with the Lord and be close to Him, we should read our Bible and pray, and very, very regularly. And it's a good idea, it's a good thought in general, but if that is the whole goal, is to be like, okay, I did my thing today, I read my Bible, and I prayed every day today, then we're missing the point of being in love with Jesus. And so tonight we're talking about personal devotion. Not personal devotions, although it kind of plays into it a little bit, but personal devotion. Devotion is love, loyalty, or passion toward a person, activity, or cause. And so if I am devoted to something, hopelessly devoted to you. Anyway, that is not going to be a thing that I check off on my list every day and say, cool, I got it. That is something that is going to radically change my life. And that's something that I'm going to be so passionate about that everybody around me is going to know all about it. So like everybody around me know that Eva has been constipated lately, and you know what I'm passionate about. Cool? Yep. Pointing. Because I love her. This is what we desire to see in each one of our lives regarding our relationship with the Lord. This passion that says, no matter who it is, they're going to know about it. They're going to know what you think and what's going on in your life. So, at your tables, I want us to take just like 2 minutes. And I've got 2 questions for you guys to talk about. The first is Jesus worth loving more than all of these other things that we get passionate about? Is he actually? And I want you to have an honest discussion about it. Everybody at your table might not agree and feel the same way. So let's be gracious toward one another and the different places that we're coming from. But let's talk about, is Jesus worth loving more than these things that we get passionate about? And if he is, why? Why is he worth my devotion? Okay, so is he worth loving, and why? So go ahead and take a couple minutes And
We call Carmen.
yeah, just one of your